freezing deductible before that incident in Texas. And now we are seeing certain companies put deductibles on, regardless of whether you've had a freezing claim. But certainly, if you have had a freezing claim, that is something that is usually going on a policy renewal. And my experience is that deductible is not normally the same as your standard property deductible. Often that number is higher. And so I'm seeing that in Virginia, and I'm seeing that across the state with various companies. But to your point about wind and hail, I don't think every company is doing wind and hail deductibles throughout the state, but there are certain companies that have been more prone to that. And for 16 years I've been doing this, for a long time, except for the last 2 or 3 years, like you just mentioned, we never saw wind and hail deductibles except on the coast. And now, we can go to the middle of the state and find companies that are offering wind and hail deductibles, but also there's companies that aren't. And so having to navigate that and what that looks like and the impact to that at claim time and understanding what that means, it is super important. And I just, what I find in the everyday walk of doing this is not a lot of people, first of all, know that they have it. And second of all, they don't really know how it works. And so understanding that and having an agent that can walk you through that in layman's terms to explain how this applies and the impact potentially that it's going to have on your school and the finances needed for that, it's big time. It's big time.
So how does a wind hail deductible work? Can you walk it through for me in layman's terms?
Yeah, the dollar value ones are fairly straightforward. If it's a $25,000 wind and hail deductible, it's $25,000 on the property loss before the insurance company pays, right? And so the ones that get tricky are the percentages. And for instance, it's not uncommon to see 1, 2, 3, even sometimes up to 5% wind hail deductibles here in Virginia with certain carriers. And when you understand that you have a $10 million building and you've got a 2% wind hail deductible, you got to do quick math there to understand how much you're out of pocket is before the insurance company pays anything. And the question is that affordable to you? Can you make that go? And the other thing is sometimes you get companies where the deductible is on the building at 2% and then separate for the personal property as well. And so you can get into a lot of different out-of-pocket costs in that arena. And it can add up really quick. And you just really don't know what you were into if you don't have a good explanation of what that means.
So what should a customer do if they're going through their policy or they're getting their renewal or they just got a letter in the mail from the insurance company saying your wind hail deductible last year was $5,000. This year you have a 2% wind hail deductible. What should they be doing at that point in time?
Yeah, first of all, it's always a good idea to pick up the phone and talk to your agent to have an explanation of how this is going to impact you going forward. Relationships super important. And in our world, in your world, Daryl, we build relationships because that matters when it comes time to talk about these things and when it comes time for claims and other kinds of things. If you don't have that relationship, it's going to be difficult to pick that phone up. And if you don't have that relationship, it might be difficult to even understand what they're trying to say. Reality is they may not even be able to explain that very well if they're not super familiar with what they're, the kind of deductible that's being offered. Standard property deductible is typically a flat number. And so I would definitely have a conversation with your agent. If you're not getting a satisfactory answer, if you're not understanding and it's not easy to understand, it never hurts to pick up and give someone a call who deals specifically in the industry. Most of us, you and I, we'd be happy to have a conversation with someone, even if it never leads to anything else at this point, just to explain what's going on, and so that they understand how that impacts them. And then they can take that from there and decide how they need to proceed.
So let's say they pick up the phone and they're talking to their broker and they're asking questions. What type of feedback should they be able to get from their agent?
Well, I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. They should be able to explain what's reasonable in the marketplace and what's happening in the marketplace. If they truly understand how that affects the schools, they should be able to explain that. And they should be able to explain what carriers are doing if they're representing carriers that deal in the school market. And so, to me, a red flag would be, well, that's just the way the industry is going, and that's just what's happening. Well, that's not really an explanation. And that means, to me, that would say, I might be working with someone who doesn't really understand what's happening and how it affects the education industry.
People want to know if there's a better option out there, and they want their agent, they want their broker to give them clear and easy to understand options about how to get there. What is super frustrating for people is when there's big changes at the last minute and nobody's telling them a different way to go about it. I mean, I can tell you, I've had experiences where a customer has dramatic increases or dramatic coverage changes. But when they are able to be walked through what's available in the marketplace, company by company, and what is being offered, people can be made comfortable with big changes as long as they still feel like they're getting the best deal in the marketplace. What I think people find to be unacceptable is when they're asking, is this the best deal? And people can't give them a straight answer. That's when they start looking for other opinions.
A short answer is it often makes people uncomfortable, and it makes people feel like they're not really sure that who I'm talking to understands what's actually going on. And we do that in our everyday lives outside of insurance. So that's easy to, it's easy to understand that. But yes, those would be the things I would talk to. Those would be, and I would, I would take the document that comes from the insurance company, because every insurance company notifies you in some way, and take that, pick up the phone, have a conversation, shoot an email, copy it, put it in the email, review it, and look for an answer that is satisfactory. And if you're not getting that, it may be time to consider looking at someone who understands the market.